Hello and welcome to the Franchise Tag Podcast with me, your host, Freddie Hall. Back again with us, Abby, a giggling Abby, so to speak, and also a different Abby, I suppose, a little bit less hair than the last time we saw her, looking great as usual, though. Abby joined us for another one of our Friends of the F-Tag podcast with a face that you'll definitely recognise from the NFL UK games, one of the pillars of the National Vintage League, your favourite vintage store to go and buy your vintage NFL gear from. Not even NFL gear, baseball gear, all American sports really. Chris has got you sorted as he's he's got it all going on here. He's got the Washington thou shall not be named hat on, the old name, but it's okay because we're probably going to talk about your new name as well coming soon, Chris. But Chris, thank you for joining us. You are everywhere, star of Channel 5's NFL End Zone, along with your co-host Ash. Like I said, one of the pillars of the National Vintage League, making all of us NFL UK fans just looking a lot better. With our cool garments, our hats. I mean, the funky trousers that I've seen a lot of you sport. I mean, firstly, thank you. Thank you for making the nation dress so well.
I mean, I don't know. The Zubaz especially, there's nothing like going to a Tottenham game dressed in a full starter jacket, Zubaz combo, waiting for the bus when there are no other NFL fans around and you like a proper Herbert. But as soon as you get amongst your people, it's great. It's good. No, but I appreciate that. Thanks, Freddie. That's really nice of you. We've known each other for a while now. You've always supported the shop, so I appreciate that.
Well, yeah, of course. We were talking about before we came on. Yeah, I remember when Hugh was involved with you guys, with him running around with business cards, giving them out to all of us, and that was just when really no one did wear vintage gear, but it just wasn't as I suppose acclaimed, that people wanted it a lot more than you guys really headed it up and really pushed it forward. And it's just been so great. I mean, we purchased stuff off of you guys. I mean, I remember bringing stuff to a game that I'd found place, and you guys were like, "Oh, what?" I remember being in fact, I was in a co-op getting some beers before the game, and Hugh grabbed me and was like, "Where'd you get your jag from? Where'd you get your jag from?" I was like, "Oh, I just found it in Camden or something, man." And he was like, "It's so good. I've not seen one like that." And it's really nice of him to say that. But yeah, you guys have just been great every time we've met you at the games, and I take it you'll be returning to the games this year with maybe a stall, or are you going to be just around, or?
I mean, for the Wembley game, certainly, yeah, we're going to be back at the Green Man pub, doing a pop up there, and we'll be at Tottenham, but obviously I'll be working, and so I'll probably have some cards in my pocket and dress the part, which is always funny when you go into the press box and everyone else is there dressed professionally, and you just walk in again in Zubaz and full starter jacket combo. Bizarre. But yeah, we'll try and be that. And then Germany, yeah, that'll be work as well. I mean, I'd love to do a pop-up in Germany because Germany's a huge market for us and they love vintage as well. But yeah, everyone's doing it now, which is good, I guess. Save the planet. But still shop with us, please.
Shameless plug for the NBL. Keep shopping at their place.
Got to.
They're great guys over there. Yeah. I can't afford to go to these.
I will plug us 100% again before the podcast's done. I'll be like, what was that? Oh, the Mark the Ripper tee. Yeah, it is vintage. Yeah, of course.
Well, a little unknown fact probably about you guys is obviously you guys advertise so much gear and wear so much gear, model it, of course, all yourselves. But obviously you have your own NFL teams too in your hearts, and that is for you the Washington Commanders now, I suppose, which we all want to get used to saying, Washington Commanders. Abby's just itching to talk about the Commanders name.
I still have the old Washington football team W on because I can't bring myself to fully commit. I was like, you know what, Washington football team I can get with, It took a while, but eventually I was vibing with it and it was rolling off the tongue and it was great. And then they changed it and I was like, this is not only annoying that I have to now learn a new name, but also it's awful. And so we tried not to mention it on the podcast we do for the longest time. We called it the C word, as the Redskins is the R word. But like I say, there are stupid names for lots of teams in the NFL, but if you play well, no one really matters. So we'll see. Well, hopefully, fingers crossed, we won't be as bad as everyone's ranking us. But you never know.
Abby, what's your problem with the Commander's name? You seem to it seems to be a real belly laugh every time we say the C word.
It's the C word. It's just one of these things. I don't know what it is. When it came out, I was like Chris said, when it was the Washington football team, okay, I understand it. You've changed it. Why change it again? You've changed it again and you've made it into something that's it just sounds, I don't know, like it's like, do you know what I mean? If you go up to someone as a joke and be like, "Take command," like from Star Wars or something, that's what it reminds me of.
Well, to be fair, the Commandalorian is looking like it's going to be our new mascot. This guy in full Mandalorian gear in burgundy and gold. And to be honest, I'd get behind that.
I'm behind that.
You know,
That is cracking.
The whole
That
of
is a
FedEx
really
chanting, "This is the way," except that's like 12 people. "This is the way."
Yeah,
all of you.
like that would work. Okay.
I'm more on
Fingers
board than I
crossed.
was. I am more on board than I was.
We'll
sure.
see. They're announcing our new mascot against Cleveland, week 16. So they're letting us wait a whole season before they actually bring out the fan-chosen mascot, even though
Oh
it won't
my
be
God.
fan-chosen, because they said
That's
the
a
name was going to
bit
be
much.
fan-chosen, which it wasn't. Yeah,
That's a
they're
bit much
useless.
waiting all them games to then bring out.
It's a
your mascot.
useless organization.
But it's great.
Like,
But then
yeah.
I support a team that wears cheese, like foam cheese on their head. I can't say anything. I can't.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, but the Packers, you know, first ever Super Bowl winners, you got like a storied history, you know, Steelers, you know, you got this, you know, the steel curtain in the 70s. Washington had a decent run in the late 80s, early 90s, but since Snyder got the team in 99, it has been 2 decades of absolute hot trash. And until he goes, it's not going to change. Oh, it is. It's like I always say, it's like they're like Rumpelstiltskin, like spinning gold out of straw, but it's hope that they spin every year out of no reason to have hope at all. Every offseason, they'll be like, "Oh, but this year Wentz, Dotson," and you're like, oh, "All right, I'm on board." And then 0-4 to start. You know what I mean?
To be fair, the Bears do that, don't they? And the Vikings, they do the same. I'd say they're probably worse.
Good for you.
Yeah.
It's good for the
I
Packers,
don't support.
I
don't support the Commanders.
And then the other team's the Lions. So it's like, all right, great. You just have no competition, basically.
Everyone likes the Lions at the minute. Come on, if everyone wants to run for a wall for Dan Campbell at the minute, surely. NFL's most beloved coach at the minute. The guy's just pure gold whenever he gets in front of the camera.
After week 2, yeah, I'm all on board. But
is that when the
Commanders
play?
And I want to battle them. That's game 2 on the Carson Wentz revenge tour. Because Jags is one, obviously lost to the Jags last year, got released, needs to beat the Jags. First game, make a statement. Second game, Lions going up against Jared Goff, who obviously got drafted the same year as him. Do a deuce on Jared Goff. Then Eagles week 3. And then I think it's like Colts like week 8 or something. But yeah, it's the Carson Wentz revenge tour. This is all it is. That's what the
2022, the Carson Wentz revenge tour, and I mean that's probably a good way to start. So, Chris, honestly, we have talking about him going around, playing these teams against, but there was lots of quarterback. There was definitely a quarterback merry-go-round this year, as well as wide receivers and every other position, it felt like. But there's been so much movement this offseason with quarterbacks. And, there was a lot of hope for Commanders fans when there was, Aaron Rodgers maybe on the table and Russell Wilson was maybe on the table. And, you've got to look at the draft picks that were out there. And then you guys, you take Carson Wentz, which is a bold move, former, nearly a Super Bowl finalist, obviously getting injured, didn't quite get there, but he got a ring, I suppose. But he gets some for you guys. Obviously, he didn't have a greatest time in Indianapolis. Some people felt that maybe he was giving a bit of a bad shake of it there, really, because he wasn't that bad. He just didn't seem to close out the season. Lost against the Jags, like you said, in that last game, which was really maybe like the nail in the coffin for him by the Colts organization. But Wentz gets announced as your quarterback. You had Taylor Heineke, who was sort of a crowd favorite. A lot of people were liking him, especially the way he played against the Patriots in a couple of years ago. I mean, what was it like for you when Wentz was announced as the quarterback? Was there a sinking feeling of, oh, here we go again? Or was it a hope, a little ember of hope like you were talking about?
No, I think I would have to have been crazy if I'd had any embers of hope when it was announced. When it got announced, honestly, I won't lie, I was really disappointed when it got announced. But looking back with hindsight, there's no way Rodgers was going anywhere. There's no way we were going to get Russell Wilson. So take those two out of the equation, and I'm fine that we didn't get either of those guys, to be honest. Who else is better than Carson Wentz that was available this season? Deshaun Watson's not going to play, and I wouldn't want him anyway. Garoppolo, don't want him. Teddy Two Gloves, don't want him. Mariota, don't want him. So after it all shook out, it's like, well, actually, Carson Wentz isn't a bad option because, he has a problem with accuracy. I mean, that's 100%. But he's got a cannon. We haven't had a quarterback. The last quarterback we had with an arm was Kirk Cousins, and that arm has a bloody asterisk next to it because that is not an arm, as Abby will say, and the Packers cornerbacks will definitely confirm. So, fine, he's not accurate, but we've got Terry McLaurin, 0% drop rate. Jahan Dotson, first round this year, doesn't drop a ball, huge catch radius. De'Ami Brown could potentially be a decent deep ball threat. So he's got a better O-line in Washington than he had in Indy, right? So if you give him a bit of time...
Oh, I don't know about
that. He does. Honestly, he does. Other than Quentin Nelson, Washington's O-line ranks higher than Indianapolis did last year.
According to PFF. According to PFF. According to PFF.
Look at time in pocket, all right?
Ooh,
Look at time in pocket.
Right.
Well, here's the thing as well. Okay. Remember, Indy ran the ball as well, right? So Wentz is throwing it a lot when he's running out of options. So he's playing hero ball. Everyone says that is his drawback, is that he plays hero ball, that he makes stupid decisions and just launches it down the field. I want that. I'm so jealous every time I see Jameis Winston just chuck it. And I'm like, who's going to get on the end of it? Do you know what I mean? We've never seen a quarterback that can throw it anywhere in Washington. And now we actually have a legit track team on offense. Curtis Samuel, Antonio Gibson, Terry McLaurin, Jahan Dotson, De'Ami Brown all run 4.40s. So if you give him a little bit of time, one of the four of them is going to get open and launch it. Do you know what I mean? They can't double them all. That's all I want to see is just 400 yards a game. I don't care if you throw a pick, as long as you throw 3 touchdowns as well. I'm good. I just want to be excited about watching us play. I want to be able to get third downs. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to celebrate first downs anymore, Freddie. I want to celebrate touchdowns.
It sounds really depressing, actually. Because obviously I can't really relate.
Yeah, you should try it. Yeah.
It does sound really...
That's what Ash says all the time. Ash is like,
Ash is a Packers fan, isn't she?
Shut up. Exactly. I'm like, shut up. You don't get to complain. You've had a team that's gone to the championship game literally every year for the last 6 years. You can't complain. I don't listen to any complaints from Packers fans. It's not happening. Steelers fans can complain.
Oh, well, I'm glad. That's okay for me. I'm all right in this corner.
I was going to say, that sounds like a shot. That sounds like a shot, really.
I mean, yeah, it hurts me a little bit. It does hurt me a little bit, but I mean, we've been more competitive than the Commanders, I suppose. But it was a little bit like Andre, who we had on last night.
With Mitch Trubisky, you haven't.
Well, Mitch went to a playoff with the Chicago Bears. That guy's got some. I was not as disappointed as other Steelers fans about that. And now we've got Kenny Smallhands. We're going to be fine. We'll be all right. I don't need to worry about that at all.
You've got Najee Harris, and that's all you need.
Exactly. We've got the power running of Najee, and we've got some great wide receivers there as well, which probably brings me on to a wide receiver of yours, which you must have been. You were disappointed about Carson Wentz being announced, but how ecstatic must you have been about Scary Terry signing that 3-year extension, $71 million contract, especially with all the wide receivers that have moved this year, who are going to training. Deebo Samuel seems to be a bit of a problem child in San Francisco because he wants his money. You got AJ Brown getting moved because he wanted his money. Tyreek Hill moved, he got his money. All these wide receivers got his money, but McLaurin late to the game, Scary Terry getting his big contract, very deservedly so, I would say as well. I bet that was what, only last week that happened?
Bro, the guy's averaged 1,080 yards over the last 4 years every season with 8 different quarterbacks. Do you know what I mean? Like, they could have paid him $100 million for 3 years, and Commanders fans would have been fine with it. You know, he completely epitomizes the direction that the team needs to move in order to be better, right? So he personifies the culture that Ron Rivera is trying to get into the team. And like you can see that by, the reaction that when he posted that message on his socials after he got it, and everyone was saying what a classy move it was. I mean, it just sums the guy up. And I'm happy he got paid, and I'm happy we signed him when he did. I'm happy he didn't get traded. There was talk about him going to the Colts, but it just makes it so much more difficult now for like the quarterbacks left, and not quarterbacks, the wide receivers that haven't been signed to contracts. So like Deontay Johnson, for example, is a perfect example of a wide receiver who's probably looking to get paid now because he's been good for the Steelers. But I mean, what they took George Pickens and Calvin Austin III, you know, they might. I mean, what you guys paid? What, AB and like Hines Ward? Those are the only receivers you guys ever really paid. Otherwise, you'll just draft another one. So, you know, I don't think Deontay is going to get like paid like Terry would, even though arguably he's just as good. Some Steelers fans would say.
I would definitely, if you gave me both of them, would go Terry McLaurin. But I can understand where you come from. Deontay Jones gets overlooked a lot because of the Steelers' lack of really being that successful, though we've not had a losing season. He's not exactly like been the headline guy compared to like Debo, AJ Brown, Devontae Adams, DeAndre Hopkins.
I was waiting for you to mention Tay Adams. You didn't earlier. I was like, okay, I've got away with that clean.
Well, we just don't want to keep bringing it up for you, Abby, because we know how upsetting it was for you. And but were you surprised, Abby, about that all these wide receivers that have moved? And what did you think of the McLaurin contract when he got all signed up?
She's still thinking about Devontae Adams. She's just
I was thinking about Tay, and then it went on to Kurt Benkert, and then I got really depressed, and then my brain's just sort of gone into shutdown mode.
Well, Brett Favre said today that he doesn't think that Devontae Adams will keep up the same production without Aaron Rodgers, which is
I saw that.
Nice of him to say, considering he bullied him for 3 years and hated him.
I kind of agree with that though, because didn't he go to the Raiders because Carr was there, and he'd always wanted to play with him all along, wasn't it?
Yeah, they went to college together, so they played together at college. So they've already got a connection.
They're best
I didn't know that Brett Favre hated him, hated
Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers. I was like,
yeah. It's rare to hear Brett Favre, say nice things about Aaron Rodgers, as I'm sure you know.
Or about anyone, really.
Exactly unless it's something he's advertising. Unless it's like Levi jeans or like knee supports or whatever he's plugging. Yeah.
Knee supports. Oh.
Okay, I'll bounce back to you, Abby, now from that question that I said about if your brain now has something you got something to bounce back with. You good? Yeah, cool.
I think so.
Right, I'll bounce back on with that then. So, obviously, when we talk about Devontae Adams, when we talk, and obviously I know it hurts you, Abby, but when you look at the wide receivers around the league who did get paid, Adams got moved on. But how did you feel about the McLaurin contract and him getting signed up there, because it was so important to the Commanders?
Yeah, I mean, I'm one of those people. I look at when something good happens for another team, I'm happy for the team, especially when it's a team that's potentially not that great. But yeah, that's what Chris.
I think it's okay to say that, Abby. It's okay to say it. It's all right.
No, but
we don't have to protect his feelings. It's fine.
But no, like Chris was saying, it's that hope, isn't it? And I think if you've got that hope there with your team, I don't know. I can see it. I can see it going well.
It's the hope that kills you, though.
I've got playoffs. It's like. Yeah, no, but I mean...
That's all we want. Yeah, you're right. That'd be great.
But I guess it's difficult when there's a team and there's not so many people in it that you can't get behind. You can't be like, oh, I'm so excited. I'm excited for the season. Even though you're excited for the season because it's football. I guess, I don't know,
I think what you mean is a lot of the teams don't with Dre from Verge Magazine was saying last week, we were talking about an experience that I had at the Tottenham game where we stayed afterwards and it was Ravens with the Steelers and I'd had a fair few beers to be fair at this point, and it was the last kick of the game and it was Justin Tucker and the ball went up and it went really far left and I turned around and really cheered, really went for it, effing and blinding. I was really drunk and just having a great time, and at the last second it curved in and went in. It was a beautiful kick. Justin Tucker, absolutely hero, Hall of Famer. And it was just then turning around to see it go in and just all that joy just flushed out of me. But it was also so exciting. He was the point I was making is when I said that, Dre was like, but I don't get as a Giants fan, we don't get that excitement in games. I've not had anything that exciting happen. You have the division games and for the Commanders, Chris, and again, this is not, I'm going to go to the grounds, but is it sort of that same thing where... No, but it's sort of the same thing, isn't it? When you aren't having that the winning seasons and challenging for the playoffs sometimes, you want them players and their moments for you to return to the screen to watch your team, because it can be hard. Like any NFL team, it can be some weeks you go off, there's no good at the minute, or you get injuries and stuff like that. And sealing someone like Terry McLaurin for your future. And again, with the graphics that we'll talk about later, when Jahan Dotson and Curtis Samuel, hopefully, if he stays injury-free this year. De'Ami Brown, who really looks a really good player as well, as like that third string receiver, maybe getting into the second string sort of slot there with him and Jahan. Like, that's what must excite you as well. And I think, well, the offensive side is doing that as well, but surely the defensive side this year, Chris, is hopefully going to take a bit more of a step as well, because we wanted it to happen last year. Didn't quite happen last year. Right. Do you think it can maybe get back on the cylinders as it was? Because you've got like some absolute beasts on that defense.
Yeah, I mean, we need to go back to 2020 levels, really. I mean,
yeah,
better than that, because that defense took us to the playoffs. Got narrowly beaten by Tampa Bay. Taylor Heineke put on a hero performance. Then did beat them last year, defending Super Bowl champions. Just say that was a bit of a highlight for the year. Not gonna lie. But yeah, I mean, it's we'll see what happens. But the future looks much better for Washington than it has done in a very long time. Sam Howell was a steal in the 5th round, coming out of North Carolina. He also played with De'Ami Brown. So Wentz doesn't need to do amazing for us to do well, but our defense does need to step back up. Jamin Davis needs to take a massive leap in his second year. We need our secondary to come together. I think Cameron Curl's actually going to have a really good year at safety. And Sweat, and if Young gets back to full health, with Sweat off the edge, Allen Payne, Phildarian Mathis, on paper it's all good, but like you can say that about every team at this point. It's really easy to get carried away on the hype train this deep into the off season, because we're not seeing any evidence apart from padless mandatory rookie mini camps. It's like, oh yeah, it's going to be great. We don't know at this point. Someone's going to get horribly injured.
Essentially, you've got the building blocks there. It just needs to sort of come together.
Yeah, but I mean that's the same with everyone, So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, but it's like I feel like I don't know. I'm not saying it just as a Packers fan, but I feel like even though obviously we've got like new players coming in, it's still going to take time for everything to sort of adjust. But because like Rodgers is still heading them, I feel like it does feel like more of a, I don't know. Maybe I don't.
Well, look, put it this way: if Rodgers wasn't there, and you guys had to start Jordan Love this year, would you think that team had all the pieces in place? No, you're going through a rebuild. Your defense is young, your wide receivers are unproven. And Aaron Rodgers, like you said, is holding the fort. But without him, I mean,
it's going to be
Alan Lazard.
A couple of Lizard. It's going to be a couple of years if we're lucky, isn't it, Rodgers? I don't know. Did they ever actually say what the terms of the contract was? Because I saw that stuff that got posted, and then they were like, "No,
shouldn't
that's
you
not."
know this?
Yeah, no. But everything I've seen, it said that like, oh, what was actually posted wasn't actually the facts. But I haven't actually seen anything presenting the facts about the situation.
There's so many in these sort of things. There's so many subdivision bits and bobs, and there's so many. Even though Terry McLaurin's 3 years extension or whoever gets extended these days, there is just so many ifs and buts and maybes in their contracts about extra money, less money, whether they can be moved, when they can't be moved, if they can be moved. It's why we're not NFL execs, I suppose, because we don't understand them, and that's why we're the fans, I suppose. You really interested about Sam Howell, Andrew, one of our co-hosts. He said Sam Howell for him was the most NFL-ready quarterback coming out of this draft. He watches a lot of college football. I mean, that guy watches games that you wouldn't even imagine happen probably in college football. That guy's he's really got his finger on the pulse of college football. Do you think that it might be the immediate future if Wentz doesn't work out in Washington, or do you think that was just sort of insurance, really, just in case?
No, I think he's the future guy. I mean, the question is whether they can be patient with him and let him sit and keep Wentz playing regardless of how well he does, because You know, the problem is for Ron, it's getting to the point now where fans, the Washington fan base is the worst, and they'll start calling for him to be on the hot seat. Do you know what I mean? But he hasn't been given enough time to really, truly change a culture. 3 years, 4 years isn't enough time. You need to be there for a long time. I mean, look at the Steelers, like 3 head coaches since the 60s. You know what I mean? Like, it's consistency that's important for any organization. And, he needs to be given enough time to put the pieces in place that, he's preparing now. And I agree with Howell. I think that Howell was a steal. I think everyone was saying that it was probably the best value quarterback pick in the draft. No one knows how, rookie quarterbacks are going to perform in the NFL, obviously, famously. But I hope there isn't a quarterback controversy. I've lived through too many seasons of quarterback controversies, and it's not fun for anyone. It's not fun for the fans, obviously, but it's awful for the team as well. I say stick with Wentz, regardless of how well or poorly he does. If he does terribly, great. We get good draft picks. Build the team that's coming next. Don't expect to win it all this year. If we do better than we expect, great. But if we don't, not a big deal. Take the number 3 overall pick and do it next year.
People just expect results straight away. So it's like, I feel like fans are very critical, aren't they? Like, straight away, if somebody gets drafted and they don't like them, and then the fan base jumps on it. That's the thing I don't like. And like you said, we're going through a rebuild. It takes time. This is what I feel like a lot of people don't sort of, I don't know. I think people are impatient a lot of the time.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's just social media or
instant gratification now, and that's the thing, is like you can't build, I mean, unless you're the Rams and you just throw money at the problem. Aaron Donald, you can do that. But yeah, I mean, here's the thing. If someone said to me, would you prefer to win 1 Super Bowl next year or 5 Super Bowls in 5 years? Come on, you know what the answer should be.
Yeah, exactly. You need to have a plan for these things. It's what I've been annoyed with the Steelers for a while at, is we've built that culture and everything like that, but we've not had plans moving forward about Ben. And then suddenly just Kenny Pickett's happened. It's like, no, we should have thought about this for a while. And it's the contingency, and that would have been a nice slow transition from one quarterback to the other with the exact same team. And he'd worked with this team for a moment, and it was a nice and slowly transition there. Now it's sort of stop and break one again, starting with a new quarterback, and that's really not what I wanted. You need that slow build. And I think you're right, Chris, and I think you're right, Abby, as well. I think there is that instant gratification thing at the minute where we've got, like the Steelers, we've got this really good quarterback, and it's like, well, we've got to win the division. You're like, no, that's not really how it works. The problem is the college players now are so good. They are just instant hits going throughout all the rounds now, that when you don't get that, or it doesn't happen straight away, we get annoyed as fans, and we want our teams to do well. Of course we do. That's why we're fans. We're fanatics, aren't we? But yeah, we're just going to have to see what happens for the future there. Chris, I know you are a fantasy football playing man as well. I don't know how many leagues you're in. I don't know how well you did last year. I mean, what was your how many leagues you're in? How did you do? Any season win? 4, 5 was that?
Oh no, that was the ring. I don't have a ring. That's my wedding ring. But yeah, I did. I'm in 7 leagues, and I won my championship back-to-back years
Nice.
for the last couple of years,
King
which is great because I play against a very competitive league of all Americans, and there's nothing more wonderful than beating Americans at their own game and listening to all their whiny excuses. But yeah, going for the 3-peat this year, we'll see what happens. But yeah, I love it. If you're not into fantasy football, get into it, because it completely changes the way you look at every other team in the league and every other game that's going on. And it's great community as well.
Yeah, it's like my first year in fantasy this year. I'm in a rookie league, and then I'm in like a couple of others. And I was like, I don't know, how was I not in it before? I've been a fan since only since 2018. Why didn't I? Like, I'm getting all the books and everything. It's like fascinating. And like you said, it gets you into the other teams. You learn more about the other teams. And then also it's like, it puts that investment in there. Like, you actually want to see the other games, see how it does. Because it's not the wins that count, is it? It's the players in the game. So you can still lose, but you could get good points in fantasy if you've got the right players, you've made the right moves. Correct me if I'm wrong there.
No, you're exactly right. The big thing I always think is every game matters. Like, because you more or less probably have, out of the 32 teams, you probably have a fair amount of teams covered. So most games you watch, whether it be 9 o'clock, 6 o'clock, Thursday, Monday, sometimes a Friday, obviously with some of the games, or sometimes Tuesday, I suppose. We might as well just make Wednesday NFL as well. I don't know why you mess around with it. And Saturday,
the whole week.
Games, just do it
Because we needed a day for waivers.
Exactly, because we need a day where we need to think about what we're doing next as GMs of our teams. But yeah, Abby, you're completely right about it. Does get you, well, and Chris, well, but you get totally invested in these teams, and it just builds your knowledge up so much more. I will do a plug for some guys who helped me out really early on when I started this podcast. That's 5 Yard Rush guys. They've just released their fantasy football book.
That's the book I got.
That's the book I got. Yeah. He's a great guy. He's a great dude. They're really great fantasy football folks over there. And they're doing an FFCC big fantasy football meetup coming this Saturday? No, it's the week after.
It's the 16th. Yeah,
I hope it's not this Saturday. I panicked then. I was like,
well, it's definitely not this Saturday because I've got something else on. So I'll be there. I think Abby will be there. Chris, I'm not sure if you'll be there.
I was going to try and come down. Yeah, I might be there. Yeah, we'll see what happens because I've got to go to the Crystal Palace. There's an MLB thing at Crystal Palace Park on this Saturday, so we're going to go and fly for MLB. But no one wants to listen to about MLB because this is might be there, might not. I haven't made a commitment yet, but yeah, it'd be good to see you guys if you're there. But also, you should come down to the warehouse if you're in London.
I was gonna see Dre last time I was in London. He was gonna bring me down, so I think when I go down and see him, he was like, "Yeah, I'll definitely take you."
Yeah,
I'll bring lots of money.
Dre's a good dude.
Anything with Packers on it, I will literally buy. It doesn't matter what it is. Literally.
Well, not the National Vintage League needed any more customers, but of course they always need more customers.
Oh, but also we have a fantasy football league as well, so we could plug that. So that sort of is a good segue. So yeah, so we have a multi division fantasy football league that we started on our Discord channel, but then it kind of sort of migrated. I put it on Twitter and everything, and I think we ended up having there was 8 leagues of 10 people last year. And Maurice Jones-Drew was playing, Roberto Aguirre was playing, Killian Wolf was playing, and we tried to get as many people as possible in. And I think we're going to do it again. So if you follow us on socials, keep an eye out for a link. And there's a great little dude that I've got running it called Aaron up in Manchester, and he's just going to deal with the whole thing. I can't be bothered to be commissioner of 8 leagues. You give me no way.
Oh, yeah. That sounds like way too much hard work. I'm running a vintage clothing club brand on top of that.
Yeah. Dude, shout out to all the commissioners out there because that is a nightmare. Man, I feel for all of them. There's no way I could never do it.
Well, to all the commissioners out there, to all the football fans out there, to vintage lovers out there, thank you for joining us. Chris, really appreciate you joining us, my man. Thank you again. We will definitely be down to the shop very soon, down in Peckham, I do believe, which I know you open fair bit. So if you ever do want to go down, make sure you get in contact with Chris or the guys over there, see if they're about. Make sure you go down, go and pick up something for your team or maybe from another team. You never know. You might like something down there, and we'll never tell anyone about it. It'll be our little secret report, your rival's stuff because you thought it was cool looking. Go ahead.
I've got one last question. What's your prediction for the Commanders this season?
Oh, that's easy. 13-4. We're going to the Super Bowl, baby. Come on.
I'll
backtrack to this. I'll keep this little.
I mean, imagine if it is. And it's the greatest year that there's ever been.
I'll give you £100.
No, I don't know. Well, you know what? Adam Rank said that he only saw us winning 3 games in the whole year, which harsh. Is the other end of the spectrum to me. So I think it'll probably end up somewhere in the middle. Bad enough to not get into the playoffs, but not good enough to get a good draft pick. The classic purgatory that we all know and love.
Could be worse, yeah, I guess.
It could definitely be better as well, though. Well, we'll say goodnight to all you guys there. Chris will be dreaming of 13 wins. I'll be dreaming of a winning season, and Abby will be dreaming of Devontae Adams. So until then, thank you for watching Friends of the F Tag. Really appreciate it, and we'll see you all very soon.